Ever wondered what the actual line is between a bad choice and a crime? I mean, really, what is it? It's not always as clear as you'd think. Well, today, we're going to unpack the legal formula that turns a simple action into a criminal offense. Let's jump in.
So, let's start with that big question. What really makes an act a crime? Is it just the physical action itself? Or is it what was going on in someone's head? Or is there something else to it?
Believe it or not, the law actually looks at this almost like a math problem. There's a formula, a kind of equation. And once you get the pieces, you basically hold the key to understanding what makes something a crime in the first place.
All right, so every crime has to start somewhere, and it starts with the physical part, the first piece of our formula. This is what we call the guilty act.
Now, you can think of this as the part of the crime you could actually see, the part you could record on a camera. The official legal term for this is the actus reus. It's Latin and it literally means guilty act. So for a robbery, it's the physical act of taking the property. For a battery, it's the physical act of hitting someone. It's that external, observable thing.
Okay, simple enough, right? Well, not so fast. Because here's where the law gets a little tricky. A guilty act isn't always about doing something. Sometimes the most criminal thing you can do is absolutely nothing.
And this is what's known as an omission. Just think about it. Say there's a parent who has a legal duty to feed their child, and they just don't. Or a doctor who has a duty to treat a patient and just decides not to. In certain situations where the law says you have to do something, your failure to act can actually be the guilty act.
So we have the physical act, that's piece number one. But just doing something isn't enough to make it a crime. Now we have to look inside the person's head for the second absolutely crucial part of our formula.
And this brings us to the mens rea. Again, it's Latin, this time for guilty mind. This is all about what was going on in the defendant's head. What was their mental state? Did they intend to do it? Did they know what would happen? Or were they just being unbelievably reckless? This is the invisible part of the crime that a prosecutor still has to prove.
But, and this is a really important point, here's the catch. You cannot be arrested just for your thoughts. You just can't. A guilty mind, that mens rea, is totally essential, but it means absolutely nothing in the eyes of the law until it's paired with a guilty act.
So a great way to think about it is like two sides of the same coin. You've got the actus reus on one side, that's the external physical act, and on the other you've got the mens rea, the internal mental state. You have to have both to even begin building a crime. Okay, so we've got our two main ingredients. Now let's put them together and actually build out the complete equation for a crime.
There's this foundational principle in criminal law, and it's captured perfectly in this old Latin saying. It basically says it all. An act doesn't make a person guilty unless their mind is also guilty. That connection is everything.
So our formula has to start with the foundation, right? And that's the guilty act, the actus reus.
And to that, we add our second key component, the guilty mind, the mens rea. So you've got the act plus the mental state.
But hold on, we're not quite done. There's one last piece to this puzzle. Even if you have a guilty act and a guilty mind, you have to ask, was there a valid legal excuse? You know, like self-defense. If someone acted to protect their own life, that's a valid defense. So for liability to actually exist, you have to subtract any valid defenses from the equation.
And there it is. The guilty act plus the guilty mind minus a valid defense equals criminal liability. That right there is the core formula that drives almost all of criminal law.
So just when you think you've got the formula all figured out, the law throws us a curveball. Because there are certain crimes where that second ingredient, the guilty mind, is completely, totally irrelevant.
Yeah, these are called strict liability offenses. And for these crimes, the prosecution doesn't need to prove what you were thinking at all. Your intent, your state of mind, it just doesn't matter. The simple fact that you did the thing is enough to be found guilty.
With strict liability, the entire spotlight is on the act. The whole mental element just gets tossed out the window. Usually these are things designed to protect public safety. Think speeding or selling alcohol to someone underage. It makes no difference if you thought you were going the speed limit or if you thought the person was old enough. Just doing the act itself is the crime.
So why is this formula so important? Why have we spent all this time breaking it down? Because what we just walked through isn't just some abstract legal theory, it's the practical, day-to-day master key used to analyze crime.
Seriously, from a minor shoplifting case all the way up to a major murder trial, this is the framework. Lawyers and judges use this exact formula to take an alleged crime and pull it apart, piece by piece, just to see if all the parts are even there.
This is literally step one. Before anything else happens, they ask, okay, can we prove the actus reus? Can we prove the mens rea? And is there any valid defense here? If the answer to any one of those is no, the whole case can just fall apart. And really, when you strip it all away, it boils down to these two essential components that have to work together, the act and the mind. They have to match up. One without the other is just not enough to create a crime.
So, next time you're watching a courtroom drama or diving into a true crime story, listen for it. See if you can spot the elements. Can you identify the actus reus, the mens rea? Now that you know the formula, you've got this new lens to see the law in a whole new way.